Hi YouTube, how's it going? Just hope to say hi and do a video. You're wondering why my screen says mentor pilot. I'll get to that in a minute. Honestly, I'm using headphones here. Uh, just one that doesn't want to hold in. So honestly, when it comes down to flight sim, and I mean I love it, and I think most people who in the world love it. A lot of YouTubers and people who love it absolutely love it, and I love it as well. But when you look at the questions asked at us, they're not like, "Are you guys terrorists? I mean, you guys care? You guys hate yourselves?" No, we're average, nice, respectable people that understand this, and the whole community as a whole of people who downloaded a sim or bought a simulator on their computer decades ago, or now, or today, tomorrow, are simmers, are fans, are lovers of this system, of this systemized thing, right? So what I'm trying to aim myself towards is when you merge or mash or look at both worlds together, like communities, like flight sim community and the real world community, right? Wait, sim community and the real world community, right? And how they mesh and mask and max and mix and blah 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 blah. This isn't sticking in. I'll either edit it out or just let it in. Oh, come on, get in. Okay. Um. So honestly, why is it doing that? Okay. Honestly, I wanted to get a branch out towards talking about like when flying on flight sim and how the rules like I said, I've tried to say in a couple of videos of this video where I've hit the button and then something interrupted it and ruined the audio. So but the previous video would have said like I think a lot of people who are aviation enthusiasts are mothers or like, hey, are the rules in the world the same? The flights with aviation the same as flight sim? Like are the rules like the aviation rules like you can't fly certain speed at a certain height altitude, do they affect here? Yeah, they can affect. There are factors that you could get away with not worrying about it. No one, it's because it's simulated, because it's in your computer. No one can physically stand in the game, inside the game. You can imagine yourself in there, but no one's been able to stand in there in the actual game, like be sucked into the computer, into the game to tell you, no, don't worry about that, don't do that. And it's appalling to think that it hasn't happened, but I think it's okay the way it is. Right? It's not the best, but you deal with it. It's life. It's the way things go. Not always the best, but what I really want to say is like, yeah, those rules take effect in flight sim. Most people try to keep those realistic. That keep that stylistic of I'm realizing that like that's what the real world is, so I can acclimatize to if I ever fly a plane in the world. But honestly, sometimes you're like, I don't know. Kind of scares me. It's okay. It scares some people. Some people it doesn't. I've been flying a computer for not. I'm not gonna say every moment of my life, my days, just most of my life. Like every night that I have free, it's flying and accumulated. It's 25, 20 plus, 20 plus 2, 22 plus 3. 23 some years of flying on computer. It's absolutely amazing. It's crazy. So what I want to get into is like I want to kind of start sounding like mentor pilot you see on the screen, Captain Joe, but instead of like, how does this work? How does that work? How does this work? Kind of meshing the two worlds or communities. So like, when you fly this thing, when you fly it a certain way or certain rules and things, how does that affect things in the world? How does is the same in the world? And I want to kind of want to master that towards both of them, like to see what the difference is. Today's video, I'm going to look at just an average, not generic, not specific, just like, are the rules the same, right? Are the rules? I'm sure I've never myself got any comments going, hey, is this rule in flight sim the same as the real world? I've never, but I've heard other white people talking about it, or thought it up. That someone must have come to that point in life. Honestly, I don't know. Well, I mean, I know the answer to that question, but I don't know. No one's ever sent me that kind of question. That those questions are fine too to comment in the spot below. It's just to say like, hey, do certain things in flight sim seem the same as the real world? Is the same feeling? Is the same emotion? Whatever you want to say, go ahead, comment it. If I delete your comment by accident, but if you leave your comment, it's not about like I hate it or I don't like it. I like a lot of the posts like or comments I get. Like a lot of them are just absolutely not just like this, like awesome, but like yeah, like rock on comments. But if you want to comment on that in that direction, sure, go ahead. Yeah, because I mean, truly enough, I don't have a lot of real world experience of flying. I've got a lot of introductory flights, and for birthdays years ago, this and that, sitting planes here and there. But not a lot of not me with flying the plane myself or owning a plane. So I have a lot less experience with that. When you go like into a pilot, looking at just GA and stuff, he's had a lot more experience than I have. I've had more sim experience than computer sim experience than you probably could imagine. But that's not towards thinking that I've got more than him. I don't know how much he has completed for sim like computer sim time, but really added up computer sim time. But you got to look at like what are we, what do you think is really wrong or right about that, right? Right. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like I have more computer flight simulators than him, but I think considerably I've aim it down towards. I think I've had more time being in the sim than he has probably had flying in real world. Like I'm not trying to be like I'm trying to be mean, not trying to be mean. Just trying to say like I more experience than in sim than I have in real world, basically, right? And I mean I've only had a bunch of real world hours, probably like 1 hour or so. Actually, 1 hour flight with 1 hour flight with introductory, then another one that's 2 hours, then maybe there's some other small little spots like air cadets where I might have not been flying the plane, but I was in the passenger. So that was about an hour. So yeah, or 20 minutes or so. That's about 2.5 hours ish of real world like GA flying time, GA slash glider flying time, in a sense of like being in the plane, and only really down to holding onto the stick, only about 5 minutes. I'll tell a story another time about a plane I flew on an introductory flight every a number of years ago. Just that's another video. Leave that to another video. Interesting enough is I gotta get back to this topic. It is I'm not trying to be. Also, one of my notes. I've been going off from notes here. I am not the highest authority on flight sim or mentor pilot might be just the kind of authority you need to be, or the sort of authoritative. I know what I'm going on, and I'm not saying I don't know what I'm going on, but I know only a certain amount of things in a certain way, and he knows it the same way, but it's with different effects, right? So, I was just watching someone on Discord land a plane in X-Plane 11, and yes, I also see videos of X-Plane 11s, FSX, and etc. But I base myself on FS9. But so keeping in mind there, I saw someone land there, and we were talking to each other on Discord on voice, and some aspects of this one, which I'll get into these topics deep later. But like I wasn't like mad at anyone, but I noticed sometimes we haven't really set up a schedule of or a system of rules for when you're streaming and you're on approach, and you have to focus on things, and you're trying to talk to someone. It's not something that, to say the least, it's not something the real world would do. They won't be like focusing on texting someone. They're not focusing on texting someone. They're watching like how high they are, how throw they are, and moving their throttle moving their rudders and all sorts of stuff to get themselves lined up for the runway, for the running. But when it comes down, that's real world. Their minds, their eyes are focused like you should be on the road, on the car. on a car on the road, right? Always on the road, right? It can look at different things, especially those times where you really got to watch on the road. Like you should be all the time, but sometimes there's a little. And I'm not gonna get that, but like honestly, on approach, you got to be watching everything, right? Everything, making sure your speed's right, make sure the ultraviolet's turned off, all sorts of checklists. There's a whole before a landing checklist. And honestly, in the real world, those are very much met. Those you never land without it, or you go around again. And I mean, I'm going to do a whole series of how aviation can kind of shape the flight sim world, or how it can inspire it. It's going to be a whole series, and here's my notification. Usually I do like a small short, like here's my thing, right? But I'm going to include it into here, a new series of how flight sim meshes and works itself towards like how realistic it is. I'm not looking at like just the realism, the airplanes, but like how does something that happens in the real world, like an accident, affect people who fly in flight sim? Like, good idea for the future that I'll write down here is like when hurricane season comes along. Here's how they mesh, or they mix, or they do whatever. Is like, sure enough, you got like one of the last hurricanes the last few years. I don't remember the last one is. There's one significant recently, but the one I remember the most is a couple years ago in like St. Martin and like the Barbados or Barbudo or whatever. That one, yeah, sure enough, NOAA, which is the Northern National Oceanic Aviation Authority or something like that, in the United States, they'll be sending their Lockheed Electras /P3 out in the real world, right? And you wonder, are people doing the same thing? Like when Haiti had the like pilots scrambling to find, not every pilot, like pilots that were like, I would love to go and help, and anything like hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff where people do to fly. I gotta book my like. Watch one of the seasons of Ice Pilots. They talked about going down to Haiti back in 2010, and they were looking at getting their Electra getting down there, and they couldn't get it work. But I'm not gonna get to that point. But I look at the fact that like like somebody at some of the cargo groups, and that have enough room to store stuff that they need, were scrambling to find. Like the world wasn't scrambling. There's still flights going on in the rest of the world, but if you had a cargo airline or cargo shipment of something, you could just find an extra aircraft, send it down there, and then they can just do relief flights. And you wonder, do we do those kind of things? Do we re-simulate those things in the simulator? Yes, we do. Yeah. Some of the Discord groups I'm with, there's lots of like, you go to the Sky Lounge on YouTube, the Sky Lounge, and go on the Discord, and there's usually like flight sim screenshots or weather screenshots, and when the storms hit, like big storm here and there, it doesn't have to be always a hurricane. It could be like the hurricane or the storms that go into UK recent times. You could recreate that, right? Basically, same thing with like the last few hurricane seasons, the bad ones. While I was, I had aircraft ready to go in my sim, I wasn't really up to it. I'm not really willing to fly into a hurricane to try to fly, because what they're doing is just trying to replicate what the real world is doing, which I think is kind of cool. But like some part of me is like, that kind of scares me. It doesn't hurt me. I definitely do it. It just kind of scares me. I'm replicating, which not sometimes it's like replicating these things, accidents and stuff. Especially replicating accidents. You look at the YouTube videos of people replicating accidents, and they're not terrorists really. They're just trying to be like, what would I do if I was a pilot? Like if I was an airline pilot, how would I have changed that incident? How would I made that different? How would I made that incident different? Well, I'm not going to go on why I would change that certain issue through my head, but like. That's what some of flight simmers go through. Like, yeah, sure. Some of it is just like reclaiming some time and showing what happened in the history of stuff. And some of it's like some YouTubers that you have, like YouTubers that are doing the recreation of crashes. They do a great aspect of it. Some of it is very touching and eerie to me because of my memories and of the incident, or with hearing about it. But some people don't take the aspect of doing just one video of one video of that accident and recreating it. And then the next one is, here's what I would do. Be like, the previous one would be like, this is accident, certain time, certain airline or certain airline number, blah blah blah. The next one would be that same aircraft, that same airline, and what I would do if I was in that pilot's position, which I don't think is into the world to switch to that, and I don't think has to start right now, but I think it's a great idea because I've been wanting to do those kind of ones. And I don't want to sound like a terrorist. I mean, I don't want to sound like an idiot as well. Let's take it that, like an idiot. So, but like I said, a lot of things that we do, that you see in the real world, the other question could be asked is like, because there's a lot of these incidents in the world that I'm sure there's a lot of flight sim pilots, doing recreations of these. Yeah, anything that happens in the world, like insane incidents, like the Ural Airlines flight recently. I'm sure people were recreating that flight just to see what would happen, right? I also, when the Air Canada incident, not the SFO one, where it came low, but the one that crashed Halifax of 2016, something there, I recreated that flight the same day, which most pilots can do. They can look at that and they can go, yeah, that's great. Let's try that out. And so I did the same day, same hour, same weather, and I flew started from Toronto and went to Halifax. And I went all the way to Halifax, and I was like, this weather's really bad. And I turned around, and I didn't go all the way back to Toronto, but I went to somewhere else, like St. John's or something else. And I've got a blog, actually. If you're interested, I'll leave it in the documents, in the description. That is a blog. I've got like a handful of blogs. I think most people create them like crazy. Like there's somehow like 17 different blogs. I think it's kind of cool. But like this one I haven't promoted it as much as I should. There's just so many to do. Which only 3, but like really so many to do at certain times. But like the one I have, I'll list it in the description, is basically looking at accidents. It's a lot of copy and paste of like what happened, the day, the hours, the Wikipedia stuff. Then I'll make like a horizontal line or something, and be like, well, that's what the pilots did. That's what the pilots did. How the accident happened. How the crash happened. And then I go, what's my evaluation as a computer flight simulator, to have gone there've been those situations and done it the way I would have done it. Like the one you might see is the Potomac disaster. Right, disaster in Washington, 1977 or something like that. 77. I think most people know and remember the Potomac disaster as much as anything. I'm not going to go 3 hours of that. I think we're going to look at the fact that like you can't always get what you want, and like if you really look at the story, I'm sure most people it's so horridly in their minds, so scrabbly or so strong that it's hard to think like, well, let's just start the conversation up again. So I'm gonna go scroll over back to the browser here, and I'll show you. We're gonna look at this. We're gonna short video of Potomac disaster. POTO. Oops, sorry. POTOMAC river plane crash. Yeah. Potomac House was. Okay, so here's one from this guy, Joshua Ibe, right? eBay or eBay, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But yeah, he's got some really good videos, and a lot of this just recreating accidents. And I'm not going to play the whole video. Skip ad. You and your what? Like the ones that people are doing it are really well scripted, really well scripted. Like they've got the words, the text, the stories, and at the end they have all the sound and stuff, right? So as you can see, Fort Lauderdale. I thought they took off from. But like, his point is, put me in the situation. They're on the taxiway. They're thinking like, we can warm up our plane from the airplane in front of us, and like, and try to do it that way, kind of scrubbly. I would have, if I was a pilot, no matter how good or bad I was or how brash I was, I'd be thinking like, that's not the right thing. That's not what we do as pilots. We don't just like. There've been enough people who've been like, let's go behind the system and let's screw people and not realize there's people on board. That so you understand, you got to look through that, and like, I'm not gonna go through the whole video, but you understand the part where like, it's a whole story there, and pilots return, working on anti-ice. I want to get to this So basically, this doesn't seem like the Potomac disaster though. This is a different flight. Just a sec. Go back a bit here. Hopes of the heat generated by the engines. Yeah. So even no matter how good or bad a person it was, I would not be doing that kind of thing. I would never come up. This is just a way of being brash and being like, I'm gonna do my job. I'm just gonna have fun, and thinking there's anybody behind me that's gonna worry about it. So honestly, so good to look at that. I've done a blog looking at those severe incidents or desperate moments where a pilot should have been, I should have gone somewhere else. I'm not going to spend 3 hours talking about each and every post and rating it, because I think if you find it, if you'll like it. It's basically I'll link it in the bot. I could tell it, I could say it out loud, but you're like, okay, I left the letter out, or but basically it's taken from the idea, like, if I was a real world airline pilot, what would I do in the situations? Like, look at ones like the Air Canada, the one that I was talking about in Halifax, crash in Halifax, like the Air France crash in Toronto in 2005, etc. Look at different, and every time I hear another incident where I say, like, some of the incidents out there, like, the computers are going to still fail up, mess up, and I'm not going to be able to do much for it. But if I can realize that there's some instance where anyone or some people could, like, well, I could have probably done something that better, or I could have done that a certain way, that I take it that is written in that sort of form, right? So for FORM form, like writing a form, filling out a form. And anyways, I don't want to leave this video to about 30 minutes or so. It doesn't have to be exact, but you understand what I'm saying is, like, it's a lot of. I'm just gonna start this new series where it's just, it's not trying to be like, how do I turn on an airplane in flight sim, and how do I this? I think most videos out there are how to do that, but I think it comes down to how to decipher how difference. No, I'm not looking at like the difference between flight sim and real world, because I think it's such a saturated topic, and I think it's not hard to do, but it's just a saturated topic. So honestly, realizing that I'm not going to do that. I'm looking at a point like, what can we step back and look at things in a way, right? So just keep that in mind. Those were the topics. I also that's the kind of the end of that, and I'll continue with different videos in the future. But the thought is, if I made a template on Word the other day, and I've been making templates here and there for different reasons. Some of it has been like flight sim logbook or something where I can enter in. I can maybe upload those and link those in the document, in the description. Sorry, but I made one that I think, even if you're like, I'm not into aviation, I'm a YouTuber, and you're like, I don't have problems with coming up with ideas, right? I don't have problems with coming up with ideas. I have problems, keeping the idea alive, trying to remember it while I'm doing all these other things. And I made a template that could easily be modified if it has to be, if there's rules that like, okay, there's certain reason you want to, you could edit yourself. That is just basically has like piece of paper document that says one's like the idea, your general basic idea of a video. So today's like for this one was what is the new thing I'm gonna do? Like what am I gonna do with this video? And like the rest is like what are the ideas in the video? And like it wouldn't be hard to write a piece of paper, but you know sometimes you go like I lost the piece of paper. Now I don't remember what the video is about. You'll eventually find it, and then it'll be too late in the day, or it'll be too late, and you're like, well, now I don't remember. Sometimes it's not too late in the day. It's sometimes like to be like 2 morning, start a video, lose the paper, and it's like, God, it's too late. It's more like, it's too late. I've now forgotten. Oh, right, what my video was about. Yeah, it's just too late. And you're like, okay, you eventually get a video done, but it's not the one you wanted to do. So, anyways, that's a video for today. That is awesome. I hope. Oh, by the way, this has nothing to do with the theme of this video. I found I'm going to link it in the description. You'll love it. If you are an old 7, might be able to find it on this website. Okay, on this. If you're ever doing a live stream or you're doing a video here with OBS, you're using a browser, please don't you look at porn, especially streaming. Where's Pinterest? I also am Pinterest. I will do that. Okay. So, anyways, 26 minutes. Yeah. Oops, sorry. That keeps going on. Okay. Pinterest. I found this very interesting photo. How many times do you look up on Pinterest? And you're sitting there like on the app basically on iOS, and you're sitting there like, oh, you know, okay, I saw like this images, and you just happen to hit refresh, and you're like, oh, I just at the last moment I saw one great photo, and then it's gone forever. I just happened to hold on to. I was just about to go refresh the screen, and I hit the button to refresh, and in the middle of doing that, I left my finger away so I wouldn't refresh it. I'm like, whoa, that is a really rare photo. Not any of these photos on the screen. Let's go into here. This is my page, if you want to follow it. If you're interested. Okay, where was it? 707 photos. It's just, there's the brilliant photo, but you'll see this in a moment. If you remember the 36780, the 707 120, the B52 and XB52, then this is your special day. Okay, take a look at this for a sec. Okay, and KC135, sorry. So this is a photo. I'm gonna upload it. Blow it up here. Look at this. A KC130. If you can see my mouse, I don't know if it's where this USA Air Force thing is. Where my mouse is. U.S. Air Force KC135 with a very interesting nose. Whatever the hell, nose needle or whatever the hell they call it. Right, which is rare to find. KC-135 especially. Some 707s were doing it, but not U.S. Air Force 5s. The first ever Boeing 707-120 or 120-100 version, I suppose. A B-52 bomber, should know it, but you know, like B-52. In between that is like this orange, like a darker dim color, because it's all black and white, darker color airplane, and you can see the central. I don't know if you can see my mouse. See where the mouse is, where the plus is, and the thing. This is this gray, like not the B-52. If you know what B-52 is, this other Air Force One Air Force plane is the B-52, right? The one behind it, it looks like a 707, is the 36780, and this is in a factory. This is as they're being built, right? Being built, okay, being built. And so and that is absolutely amazing to have found that this morning, or today. And I just happened to be like more like looking at more like this, checking this out, and I was like, what if I found some really interesting other photos on here? It's the treasure trove of information and images. And guess what I found? Okay. If you can understand from this photo where the mouse is, where the little plus is, right, where the red save button is, You understand? You can see this 36780 in there somewhere. You saw it in the photo. You're like, what if I saw the same aircraft in the same hangar, same factory hangar, but days later or days, months later? Well, take a look at this photo over here. This is like absolutely blew my mind thousands of times over. Okay, the plane behind like looks like a fence or like a, I don't really know what that is. Like not a fence, like a, what looks like a fence or like a looks kind of hard. The one that looks way behind. I could have just, yeah. So the plane that looks way behind there looks like a USAF aircraft. Looks like something like a fence. Like a fence behind there is a 707. Then you have this one here where my mouse is the 36780. And then you even have this one, because the other one was just, I looked at it about 1,000 times, both photos. And the other one that just had the 36780, the KC-135 and stuff, had B-52s. And I looked at them and said, no, those are just regular B-52s. And where my mouse is an XB-52, while it's being made. And there were only, I don't know exactly, it was only 4 of those made. It's a prototype of the B-52. And obviously enough, it is just crazy. Just crazy. Sometimes you'll find a lot of good aircraft photos on Boeing images, like just Boeing images, and there's lots of stuff, all sorts of aircraft, all sorts of interesting, cool things. But like I said, that just blew my mind. Like, and then of course I saw this screen too, on the bottom here, the XB-52 in the hangar, and the B-47s. Like this was like my eyes were just like, whoa, sorry. I'm gonna make fun of that, but like, holy crap! I couldn't believe how crazy it just was. It was like all these black and white photos that I didn't think either knew the aircraft existed, but I never saw these photos would have existed. They would have existed, but like I would have found them, and that's just like crazy, just absolutely insane. Anyways, I shall leave you. I'm gonna turn the light on so you can see me a little bit better. The sun has gone down a bit. Be forwarding a bit more, or wait, or just watch out for the little light here. Ready? Oh, okay, that's a little too much. Let's go back. There you go. Okay. All right, we're at 31 minutes. All right. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll talk to you later.